Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Battle Through the Heavens based on novel. So let's start. That old fellow has really given up chasing after me. Xiao Yan flew wildly for nearly 10 plus minutes. His eyebrows were knit even more tightly when he saw that no one had given chase. Finally, he muttered in a soft voice, "The old me said that you won't be able to escape." A faint laugh was suddenly transmitted from a distance while Xiao Yan was softly muttering to himself. His body stiffened. Immediately, his eyes shrank and locked onto a mountain peak in front of him. The silver-robed Fei Qian was standing there with his hands behind his back. His silver-white eyes were mocking Xiao Yang. "This old fellow's speed is really frightening." Xiao Yang inhaled a breath of cool air. His expression had become solemn. It seemed that there would likely be some trouble today. You might possess the 3000 lightning movement and those mysterious bone wings. However, you have chosen the wrong target if you wish to compete with the old me in terms of speed. Fei Qian smiled as he spoke. "Just what are you planning to do?" Xiao Yang cried out in a deep voice. His eyes swept all around him without leaving a trace, searching for a route to flee. "Hand over the 3000 lightning illusionary body to the old me. You might have gathered the 4 scrolls, but it is still impossible for you to practice it. Hence, it is a waste leaving them on you." Fei Qian spoke in a faint voice. "You will allow me to leave if I return the 3000 lightning illusionary body to you?" Xiao Yang's eyes narrowed as he slowly asked. Fei Qian merely smiled when he heard this. He gently stepped forward and his body appeared 100 meters away from Xiao Yang in a strange manner. He laughed. "The old me is also interested in your chi method that can merge heavenly flames. I might let you go if you hand it over to me." Xiao Yang's expression had completely turned gloomy when he heard these words. Flame mantra was his greatest support. The reason he had been able to reach this level today was largely because of flame mantra. If this fellow wanted to snatch flame mantra from him, it was little different than taking his life away. Moreover, it was impossible for Xiao Yang to hand over such a mysterious chi method like the flame mantra to an outsider, and the wind lightning pavilion could be considered his enemy. "It has been many years since I have fought with someone. Allow me to test your skills today." Tian Huazunja somewhat illusionary figure slowly appeared in front of Fei Qian. He clenched his hand and a long sword that was agglomerated from spiritual strength appeared. "Regardless of how you block me, he will ultimately be unable to escape my palm," Fei Qian coldly laughed. His body shook and a bright lightning glow surged of him in a cackling manner. Following the appearance of the lightning glow, the clouds in the sky above gradually became dark. Silver serpent-like lightning was vaguely shuttling within it. This old demon had actually reached the stage where he could use his own do chi to communicate with natural energy. Fei Qian's hand reached forward. A lightning glow flashed and a long spear that was agglomerated from lightning appeared with a kai-kai sound. The body of the spear shook along with space itself. Tian Huazunja was not afraid despite seeing this strong skill of Fei Qian. He let out a loud laugh as his majestic spiritual strength swept out. His body moved and the spiritual longsword pierced forward while forming numerous spiritual ripples. Fei Qian laughed in the face of Tian Huazunja's attack. The lightning spear in his hand carried an incomparable lightning do chi which emitted a repeated kai-kai sound. Finally, it was violently swung out, clang. The clear sound of a collision resounded across the entire sky. In the face of this strange sonic wave, some of the weaker magical beasts in the mountain range below felt a crack in their head before bursting apart. Tihi's strength that was exchanged between the two was actually this terrifying. Xiao Yang's figure was rushing forward like a ray of light. He had also sensed a little of the change in the sky far behind him. However, he did not turn around. Tian Huazunja had put in a great amount of effort to buy him some time. Turning around would be the most foolish decision. "Old bastard, I shall remember today's grudge. I will definitely repay you in the future." Xiao Yang clenched his teeth. His expression was a little ferocious. That old fellow had actually targeted the flame mantra. This had completely infuriated Xiao Yang. Killing intent churned in Xiao Yang's heart. However, his speed was not reduced by even a little. With a swoosh sound, the light ray flew across the sky, instantly disappearing on the edge of the mountain range. This all-out flying continued for nearly 20 minutes, or so when the space in front of Xiao Yang became distorted. Immediately, a spiritual strength came out of the space. It was surprisingly Tian Huazunja, who had stayed behind to block Fei Qian earlier. At this moment, Tian Huozhen's expression was a little solemn. His figure also seemed paler than it had been earlier. From the looks of it, he had experienced a violent fight with that old demon Fei Qian during these 20 minutes. Leave quickly. Teleportation through space is something that only an elite Dozun can do. If I had not reached the Dozun level and am currently a spiritual body, it is likely that I would have difficulty using it. However, that fellow's speed is extremely frightening. It is likely that he will catch up within a short while. Tian Huozhen urged in an anxious voice the moment he appeared. The space in the sky above a lush green mountain range fluctuated. Soon after, a silver-colored figure slowly appeared. Fei Qian's expression suddenly changed as his figure appeared. He discovered that the thread of spiritual feeling had been split into 4. Moreover, each of them was flying in a different direction. Has he discovered it? This brat is actually willing to abandon such a treasure. The smile on Fei Qian's face slowly turned gloomy. The reason he had been able to accurately tell Xiao Yan's location earlier was because he was relying on the special imprint within those 4 scrolls. It was unexpected that this was also discovered by Xiao Yan. Moreover, they were abandoned in such a decisive fashion. Fei Qian's gaze was gloomy as he elted off into the distance in front of him. He knew that Xiao Yan was fleeing that way. However, if he were to continue giving chase, it was likely that those 3,000 lightning illusionary body would fall into the hands of others. Thus, there would be some other troubles. If he were to allow Xiao Yan to escape, however, he would have difficulty calming his anger. Moreover, he was also extremely interested in the mysterious qi methods Xiao Yan practiced, that could merge heavenly flames. Fei Qian gently exhaled a breath of air as his eyes flickered slightly. He spoke in a dense voice, "Brat, if you think that you can shake me off with such a simple trick, it is likely that you have really underestimated this chief." Fei Qian's hand seal suddenly moved when his words sounded. Dazzling unusual seals were formed in a lightning-like manner. His expression was stern as he coldly cried out, 3,000 lightning illusionary body. Appear. An invisible strength suddenly surged from Fei Qian's body after his cry sounded. A strange fluctuation occurred, agglomerating into an avatar that was exactly the same as Fei Qian. The thing that was most shocking was that the aura of this avatar was also extremely powerful. Although it was inferior to the actual Fei Qian, it was also an elite Dozong which far exceeded the strength of the 4 great elders from the Wind Lightning Northern Pavilion. Unfortunately, my 3,000 lightning illusionary body has yet to reach complete mastery. Regardless of how cunning that fellow is, he will have difficulty escaping alive. Fei Qian looked at the avatar beside him and shook his head. He faintly commanded, "You will go and chase after that brat. I will go and chase after those scrolls. There is no need for you to fight head-on against them. All you need to do is delay them. Relax." Fei Qian's avatar let out a faint smile. His expression was exactly the same as the actual body. Moreover, his silver-white eyes were filled with an intelligence. It was completely different than the emptiness the other avatar had. It seemed that this 3,000 lightning illusionary body had some profoundness to it. It was indeed worthy of a mysterious Do skill that was comparable to a Qian-class Qi method. Fei Qian nodded. He ceased speaking as he turned around. Space trembled and his body slowly disappeared. Following the disappearance of Fei Qian's body, that avatar also turned his head and threw his gaze in the direction Xiao Yan was fleeing. He let out a cold laugh as his body emitted a bang and transformed into nothing. A ray of light flashed through the completely clear sky, while the faint sound of thunder was emitted from it. Fei Qian's aura is gradually disappearing. It is likely that he has gone to pursue the 4 scrolls. There is indeed a problem with those things. Xiao Yan glanced behind him while he was flying with all his might. He sighed in relief. Although it was a pity to toss those things aside, it was fortunate that he had already remembered all the contents in his mind. Yes, his aura has indeed headed in another direction. It seems that we have shaken him off. Be careful. Tian Huozhen's words had just sounded when his voice suddenly changed. Immediately, a powerful spiritual strength surged out of the snow-white ring and violently smashed against empty space. Bang. The empty space where the spiritual strength collided immediately fluctuated. The space became distorted and a figure with a vague lightning glow lingering over it slowly appeared. It was surprisingly Fei Qian. Xiao Yan's expression also suddenly changed. His figure instantly pulled back. He had never expected this fellow to actually give chase. The old me said that you will never be able to escape from my hands. Fei Qian's eyes were ice cold. He stared at Xiao Yang as he slowly spoke. Xiao Yang clenched his fist slightly and coldly smiled. It seems that you really do not want the 3,000 lightning illusionary body scrolls. Fei Qian merely smiled when he heard this. His smile contained a little ridicule as he said, the scrolls will return and you will also not be able to escape. Something's wrong. This fellow's aura is much weaker, and is far from what he was earlier. The current him is at most a 6-star do zone. Tian Huazunja's spirit suddenly appeared. He frowned, looked at Fei Qian, and spoke in a solemn voice. Xiao Yang's eyes narrowed. A thought passed through his heart before he involuntarily cried out, 3,000 lightning illusionary body. He is merely an avatar of Fei Qian. It looks like you do have some understanding of the 3,000 lightning illusionary body. Fei Qian laughed. Kill him, he is delaying time. Fei Qian's actual body has definitely gone to pursue those scrolls. Once the actual body hurries over, we will really be unable to escape. Xiao Yang hurriedly said. Xiao Yang's voice had just sounded when Tian Huazunja by the side rushed out with a swoosh sound. Majestic spiritual strength surged out, and shook the entire space until it fluctuated. You wish to escape? Xiao Yang merely laughed upon seeing this. After borrowing Tian Huazunja's spiritual strength, Xiao Yang's strength was already no longer weaker than Fei Qian's avatar. The seal he formed with his hands changed and the speed of the fire python soared. Finally, it ruthlessly smashed into Fei Qian's body in a lightning-like manner. Bang! The fire python collided with Fei Qian's avatar, and the lightning glow covering his body immediately vanished. Before he could retreat, an invisible fire python quickly gave chase and once again ruthlessly collided with him. Having lost the protection of the lightning glow, Fei Qian's avatar ended up colliding head-on with the fallen heart flame. Immediately, he emitted a miserable cry and the avatar swiftly became much paler. Bang! 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 Xiao Yang's hands danced. He did not give up this opportunity to beat Fei Qian up when he was down. A couple of fire pythons, formed from the fallen heart flame, shot out and crashed into Fei Qian's avatar, sending him back a couple hundred meters. When the final fire python exploded on Fei Qian's body, Xiao Yang's figure also vanished in a strange fashion. The next time he appeared, Xiao Yang was already in front of the illusionary Fei Qian. He coldly laughed, it's over. Xiao Yang's voice sounded as his fist, which was wrapped in a dense fallen heart flame, violently struck out. It penetrated Fei Qian's avatar's chest. Little bastard, you will not be able to escape. Fei Qian's figure swiftly became illusionary under the grilling of the fallen heart flame, as he shouted with a savage face. Xiao Yang was expressionless. His hand was tightened and Fei Qian's avatar suddenly exploded, transforming into illusionary light that scattered. Xiao Yang seemed to have understood something as he watched the scattering light spots. He reached out and an invisible energy shot out of the light spot. This energy was accurately pulled toward Xiao Yang's hand. The invisible energy had just landed in Xiao Yang's hand when it transformed into information that entered his palm and invaded his mind. With the entrance of this information, the lightning words in Xiao Yang's mind, that had been difficult to unravel, immediately emitted an intense glow. A moment later, the glow weakened and a complete training method slowly appeared. Xiao Yang's mind was a little dull as he stares at this complete training method that had appeared. His heart suddenly pounded. It was unexpected that he had unintentionally obtained the key to open the 3,000 lightning illusionary body from Fei Qian's avatar. Old fellow, ha, thank you for your gift. I will repay you this favor in the future. Xiao Yang was dull for a moment before he uncontrollably laughed in the sky. His body moved, transforming into a ray of light that swiftly disappeared into the horizon. The space rippled slightly a couple of minutes after Xiao Yang disappeared. A ferocious-looking Fei Qian slowly appeared. His gaze swept all around him, but he had completely lost Xiao Yang's aura. Immediately, his furious roar resounded over the mountain forest. Brat! I will take your life the next time we meet. A human figure, concealed under dense tree branches within a thick forest, revealed a pair of eyes that stared intently at the sky. His aura was completely hidden under a majestic spiritual strength. Although Xiao Yang had escaped the area, Fei Qian could sense him. He clearly knew just how frightening this old fellow's speed was. Hence, he immediately changed directions after having left the scope of Fei Qian's sensing abilities, and had swiftly entered the forest. After which, he borrowed Tian Huazunja's strength and perfectly hid his aura. It had been over 10 minutes since Xiao Yan had concealed himself in this place. During this period of time, he had remained as still as a statue. His entire body was covered by lush green leaves. This, along with the concealment of his aura, would likely make it extremely difficult for Fei Qian to detect him despite his great strength. Such a quiet wait continued for a couple of minutes, when the distant sky suddenly rippled. Immediately, a ferocious-looking Fei Qian appeared. His dense gaze slowly swept over the forest below before letting out a furious roar. With a violent wave of his sleeve, a majestic Do Chi pillar shot out and flattened the forest within a 100-meter radius. Only after he had vented his anger did his gaze viciously turn to another direction. His body moved and slowly disappeared. Xiao Yan did not move even a little ever since Fei Qian appeared and disappeared. He knew just how frightening an 8-star Do zone was. His perception was so sharp that it was terrifying. Any slight movement would alert him. Moreover, with Fei Qian's speed, there would be little opportunity to flee upon being discovered. Xiao Yang still maintained his completely still position after Fei Qian left. This continued for around 2 hours, or so before his body slightly moved. Xiao Yang gently leaped down from the tree branch and landed on the ground without emitting the slightest noise. He cautiously swept his gaze around him when he landed. Only then did he transform into a blurry figure that swiftly entered deep into the forest. Xiao Yang shuttled through the forest for a while. He tried his best to dodge the magical beasts he met along the way. Those he was unable to dodge were quickly finished off. Xiao Yang would kill the beast before it could emit a roar. After shuffling through the forest, a mountain peak finally appeared in front of him. Xiao Yang agilely leaped toward the mountain peak. He found a safe place halfway up the mountain. Only then did he sigh in relief, appearing to have released a great burden as he did so. He sat down in a manner that seemed to indicate that he had collapsed from exhaustion. The chase today had really caused his mind to completely tense up. Today was perhaps the most dangerous experience Xiao Yang had faced since he had arrived in the Central Plains. If he had not decisively tossed aside the scrolls, it was likely that he would have difficulty fleeing from Fei Qian. Unless Xiao Yang used the extermination fire lotus, he would have a difficult time defeating an 8-star Do zone. However, the extermination lotus flame was a powerful killing move and would exhaust him. Once it was displayed, Xiao Yang would enter his weakest state. Hence, unless it came to a critical point where he had no choice, Xiao Yang would not use it. Moreover, Xiao Yang was restricted to only one extermination fire lotus, because of the amount of life-transforming flame that he had left. Additionally, Xiao Yang did not have the time to practice that flame creation skill. He had also not refined a new life-transforming flame. Hence, he could use such a killing move to preserve his life only once during this short period of time. Looks like I will need to find an opportunity to practice the flame creation skill. That little life-transforming flame is really insufficient. Xiao Yang sighed and sat down. He let out a deep breath and summoned the earth demon puppet with a wave of his hand. He ordered it to guard him before he gradually shut his eyes and began to carefully study the 3000 lightning illusionary body training method that had already changed its shape within his head. Due to the information from Fei Qian's spirit, the profound and difficult to understand lightning words within Xiao Yang's mind had been unraveled. Replacing the jumbled mess was a complete training method Xiao Yang could use. Time quickly flew by while Xiao Yang's heart slowly sank into the 3000 lightning illusionary body training method. It appeared as though only an instant had passed. Yet, the night sky in the outside world had already turned completely dark. Within the darkness, Xiao Yang, who had not moved for an entire night, finally shook his hand. He slowly opened his eyes. Some astonishment was visible in them. A couple of after-images immediately appeared behind Xiao Yang after his body shot out. His footsteps paused and hurriedly turned his head around, only to see the after-images gradually disappearing. The situation that was mentioned in the training method did not occur. The agglomeration of an avatar is indeed difficult. Xiao Yang frowned slightly. His mouth softly muttered the requirements recorded in the training method, using one's heart to form the shape and leave one's spirit within the figure. Xiao Yang repeated this over a dozen times. Suddenly, he understood something. His eyes were slowly shut, and his foot gently stepped forward. When his feet landed, his body appeared dozens of meters away in a lightning-like manner. 4 after-images were left behind along the way. 3 of the 4 after-images swiftly scattered. However, the rate the last afterimage was disappearing was much slower. However, it remained for only around 20 seconds, or so before it slowly turned into nothingness. Xiao Yan could vaguely sense a thread of extremely slight spiritual ripple from the interior of this afterimage. I must leave a thread of spiritual strength within the afterimage the moment that it appears. Only then will it be possible to form an afterimage. However, one must be extremely fast at that moment. Otherwise, how could it be possible to leave behind a spirit within the afterimage in time? Xiao Yang frowned and muttered. Xiao Yang thought bitterly for a while, and could only softly sigh after his futile attempt. The training of this 3000 lightning illusionary body was indeed difficult. However, he would not give up so simply. He had confidence in himself. Regardless of how difficult it was to practice this 3000 lightning movement, he would successfully learn it. When he meet that old fellow Fei Qian the next time around, he wondered if that old fellow would end up vomiting blood in anger after he created an avatar. There is still around a month, or so until the energy tide in the Heaven Eye mountain range. I will walk through this mountain range, during this period of time. I should be able to reach there beforehand. Xiao Yang rested for a moment before once again recovering his focus. He looked at the end of the mountain range and muttered to himself. Quite a number of magical beasts were hidden within this mountain range. There was no lack of strong magical beasts among them. This place surpassed the Jioma Empire's magical beast mountain range in every way. Xiao Yang planned to engage in a bitter training regimen during this period of time. He would use this opportunity to practice the 3000 lightning illusionary body and attempt to quickly agglomerate an avatar as soon as possible. Moreover, the life and death battle with magical beasts would have a big impact on the increase of his strength. Xiao Yang smiled after making up his mind within his heart. This caused him to recall the memory of how he had left Wutan City and headed to the magical beast mountain range to train back then. At that time, he was a little fellow who had just become a doja. Yet, the doja who had just stepped into the training world back then had currently reached the level of a 9-star Do Huang. There was indeed a kind of dream-like feeling when he thought about it. Xiao Yang's figure leaped to the mountain top. He looked down at the vast mountain range, and heard numerous magical beast roars being emitted from within. He involuntarily howled toward the sky. With a swoop, he rushed down like a giant bird and charged into the mountain range densely populated by magical beasts. Ha ha. The clear laugh that remained in the sky represented the beginning of Xiao Yang's bitter training in the forest. A small silver stream flowed down from the top of a mountain, within a quiet forest thriving in the lush green mountain range. The silent atmosphere caused the area around the small stream to be filled with a peaceful atmosphere. Bang. However, this silence did not last for long before an enormous black figure shot out of the forest. It landed on the ground, but continued to rub across it, forming a long scar on the rock surface around the small stream. Only then did it come to a slow stop. The large savage magical beast, filled with a fierce aura, struggled a couple of times before completely losing its life force. There was a charred black scar on its abdomen. The sudden activity caused some of the magical beast around the small stream to hurriedly withdraw in shock. This was especially the case after they saw the magical beast that had collapsed on the ground. Their intelligence made them involuntarily withdraw at an even faster rate. Whether it was a human or a magical beast, the one who could defeat the great land demon bear, which was the strongest within a 100-kilometer radius, was definitely an extremely strong expert. The faint sound of footsteps was transmitted through the forest after these magical beasts ran away in fear. A moment later, a skinny human figure slowly appeared. The human figure paused outside of the forest, raised his head and looked at the glaring sun in the sky. He immediately lowered his head, glanced at the big fellow not far away, shook his head, and muttered, "Isn't it fine if you just guard your own territory? Yet, you wish to help that foolish wolf act as a scout." The sun landed on that familiar young man's face, causing the young man to appear even more lively. This person was naturally Xiao Yang, who had chosen to cross this mountain range on foot. Xiao Yang had already walked for 10 days through this mountain range. During these 10 days, there were quite a number of foolish magical beasts who had died by his hands. The pouring of the fresh blood of many magical beasts had vaguely caused Xiao Yang to emit a bloody fierce aura. His hands had also become sharper than they had been in the past. At a glance, he seemed to possess the dangerous feeling of a wild beast. The vast mountain forest seemed to be a very good training location. There were quite a number of powerful magical beasts within this mountain range. Not only were their high-rank magical beasts comparable to an expert Do Huang, but Xiao Yan had even fought with a rank 7 magical beast, equivalent to an elite Dozong, by chance, because he had found a rare medicinal ingredient. The great land demon bear had a strength equivalent to an ordinary Do Huang. The one Xiao Yang had killed earlier was a scout of the Grey Wolf King, who was known as the overlord of this mountain range. If one were to measure the strength of the Grey Wolf King with the human Guage, he should be around the level of a 2-star Dozong. After including the great agilities and instincts of a wild beast, the Grey Wolf King would be comparable with a 3-star elite Dozong. In the past, Xiao Yang would have difficulty fighting an opponent of this level alone. However, with his current 9-star Do Huang strength and the great effect of the Skyfire 3 mysterious change, even that Grey Wolf King had difficulty killing Xiao Yang within a short period of time. Hence, Xiao Yang was able to successfully escape the 2 fights that broke out with the Grey Wolf King during these 4 short days. Moreover, with Xiao Yang's overwhelmingly strong spiritual strength, he was able to avoid the Grey Wolf King's search. This had resulted in him having no choice but to order the other magical beasts within this mountain range to search for traces of Xiao Yang. Of course, with the trump cards currently in Xiao Yang's hand, he only needed to take out the Earth Demon puppet in order to kill this Grey Wolf King. However, he did not do so. An opponent of this level was coincidentally what he needed most. The strength of Chen Yun and the 3 great elders of the Wind Lightning Northern Pavilion had far exceeded Xiao Yang. Hence, Xiao Yang required the use of other methods to fight with them. Now, however, he only needed to rely on his own strength to face the Grey Wolf King. Xiao Yang had been able to fight him and successfully flee. This was the best training for him. Hence, he would naturally not take out a killing move and kill it. I wonder if that fellow is jumping up and down after failing to find me during these past 2 or 3 days. Xiao Yang gloatingly laughed. He turned around and appeared on the body of the great land demon bear. He took out a dagger and inserted it into the beast's body. After which, he extracted a yellow monster core. A rank 6 monster core would likely be useful when he refined pills in the future. Xiao Yang came to the side of the small stream, washed the monster core, and stored it into his storage ring. He looked at the somewhat miserable figure that appeared on the lake's surface, and involuntarily shook his head. This period of having camped outdoors made him look comparable to a savage-looking person. I am becoming more and more familiar with the 3000 lightning movement. However, I have yet to succeed in the formation of an avatar. This damn 3000 lightning illusionary body is indeed not easy to master. A jade-green flame flickered on Xiao Yang's hand, vaporizing all the water on it, while Xiao Yang softly spoke with a frown. There's still around 20 days or so until the start of the Heaven Eye Mountain Range energy tide. According to my speed, I should be able to leave this mountain range after 10 days or so. At that time, I will fly to the Heaven Eye Mountain Range. Whether I will be able to form an avatar during this remaining time will depend on my luck. Xiao Yang sighed. He stood up and was just about to turn around and leave when he suddenly raised his eyebrows. He glanced toward the distant sky. A large group of black figures was rushing over from that direction. One could even vaguely smell a dense, fierce scent. They are quick to arrive this time around. Xiao Yang involuntarily smiled when he saw this. He stopped, crossed his arms over his chest, and smiled as he watched the gradually approaching black figure. Brat, leave the starchless fruit. Otherwise, I will cut the flesh from your body and eat it. The black figure had yet to arrive when a furious roar was transmitted over. The roar caused the magical beasts within this section of the forest to shiver. The black figure, gradually approaching, was an enormous flying magical beast. Its enormous wings were spread. It carried a loud whistling wind sound as it pressed down toward the forest below, causing the trees to bend. A middle-aged man, with a naked upper body covered in numerous wounds, stood proudly on the head of the magical beast. A pair of crimson eyes were viciously staring at Xiao Yang beside the small stream. There were many magical beasts of different sizes behind the large man. At a glance, all of them were quite strong. It seemed that this fellow had called upon all the subordinates he could summon this time around. You are a commander who has occupied a mountain and proclaimed yourself king. Why do you persistently chase after me because of a starchless fruit? Isn't that unbefitting of you? Xiao Yang looked at the large man with a naked upper body as he spoke. This fellow was the overlord of this mountain range, the Grey Wolf King. His strength was extremely high. He could rely on his own strength to transform into a human. This was not an easy matter. It should be known that the transformation of a magical beast was similar to the birth of a high-tier medicinal pill, and a lightning tribulation would descend. If one could endure it, one would successfully transform one's body. If one failed to endure it, it was likely that one would be killed by the lightning. Of course, if one possessed a body-transforming pill, one would be able to avoid this dangerous step. However, this Grey Wolf King was clearly unable to find that high-tier medicinal pill. After all, a body-transforming pill was a Tier 7 medicinal pill. It could be considered one of the rarest medicinal pills within the magical beast world. It was easier said than done to obtain it. Nonsense. The Grey Wolf King swore after hearing Xiao Yan's words. He leaped down from the back of the flying beast and landed on the ground with a bang, appearing just like an enormous tower. That great force caused the small stream beside him to explode. Water droplets scattered in all directions. Hand it over to the old me. Otherwise, I will kill you today. The Grey Wolf King's red eyes stared at Xiao Yan. Immediately, his feet stomped on the ground. Enormous cracks spread under his feet. His body also emitted a swoosh sound as it rushed toward Xiao Yan. Sharp knife-like claws at his fingertips viciously pierced toward Xiao Yan's throat. A couple of faint black scars were formed in the air where the claw passed. Xiao Yan merely smiled when he saw this. His footsteps moved and he withdrew over a dozen steps as a reflex action. 3 afterimages appeared as he easily dodged the attack of the Grey Wolf King. The training of the 3000 lightning movement had already been ingrained in his bones. Each time he dodged, he would activate the 3000 lightning movement to its limit. Little bastard, do you only know how to dodge? The Grey Wolf King furiously roared when his attack was dodged by Xiao Yan. This was what caused him to feel dismay. His strength was clearly far greater than Xiao Yan's strength, but the other party was even more slippery than a loach. He was unable to even touch the other party's body. Xiao Yan smiled when he saw the Grey Wolf King acting crazily. He was just about to speak when his eyes suddenly tsungulated. Both of his eyes suddenly turned to an afterimage in front of him. 2 of the 3 afterimages he had left behind swiftly disappeared. However, this final one had maintained its stance. Xiao Yan could faintly sense a spiritual strength spreading from its body. Success. Xiao Yan was stunned as he looked at this afterimage that had not disappeared. He was dumbfounded. He had not controlled anything himself earlier. Who would have imagined that he would actually agglomerate an avatar in such a baffling manner? Xiao Yan finally recovered from his astonishment after a moment. A wild joy surfaced in his eyes. His hand hurriedly beckoned, and the afterimage transformed into an invisible light spot before entering Xiao Yan's brows. This was simply an avatar seed. However, this difficult creation step had been accomplished. Subsequently, if one were to temper and refine it, Xiao Yan's 3000 lightning illusionary body would be able to smoothly agglomerate in the future. Ha ha. Thank you very much. On account of you lending me a hand, I shall allow you to continue being this mountain's overlord in a secure manner. Xiao Yan laughed loudly to the Grey Wolf King. He shook his shoulders and a pair of crystal bone wings swiftly spread. The Grey Wolf King let out a furious roar immediately upon seeing Xiao Yan preparing to flee. He had just taken a step forward when his body suddenly stiffened. His eyes looked as though he had seen a ghost. He stared at the crystal bone wings on Xiao Yan's back. A moment later, he screamed in horror, "Heaven Phoenix Demon Wings." This video will end here. Thank you for watching.